Do you think there's any tells that parents should be looking for? It's tough because as teenagers, you guys are quiet as it is.
Yeah.
And
but
disjointed.
Usually if like your child has something that they love doing and like they stop doing it, like if they stop loving to
that's
do
a good
it,
tell, yeah.
Yeah, like for me, like for example, like if I stopped going to the gym, right, you'd be like, I wonder why he's doing that, because that's like such a routine part of my day.
So parents should be looking out for kids that have passions that they just stop because they may be stopping because they're being bullied about that passion by someone else.
For sure.
That's a great one. Yeah, I like that. What's the 5 Ps? Do you remember it?
Proper preparation prevents poor performance.
There you go. It doesn't matter how much money we get. If we don't close, it's no money, right? So no close is no money. I'm everything that I am because of my dad's death. And I wouldn't be as successful without his death. Hello and welcome to the Jason Theory podcast. This is season 2, episode 8, and we have a special guest. Our guest today is my oldest son, Leonidas Jason Stratton. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
All right, so we are going to try not to embarrass him, but definitely get what it's about to be a high schooler these years. And the first question I'm going to ask you, because I just made a post and your mom had something to say about it. How do people in high school ask for each other's phone numbers?
I feel like not as much because there's like so much other social networking, like Snapchat, Instagram. You kind of look up the person's name.
So if you like a girl, I'm not saying this is what you do.
I know what you mean.
So if you like a girl and you want to ask her out, how does it work? Is it like a group environment? Parents want to know, like, how are their kids meeting people, going out, and like having dates?
I mean, usually it's over Snapchat.
Snapchat.
You can get like mutual friends. And
so what's Snapchat? This is what I feel is the devil, but what is Snapchat?
It's like similar to like just texting, but you can like you send more like pictures, and there's like you can make like groups of like group chats and stuff like that. It's basically text.
Isn't Snap's whole thing that it disappears? Or no, am I totally off? Am I totally being a grandpa?
No. There's like some truth to that, but like you can change like how long your snaps send for. You can like save stuff too, so it's different.
Oh, so you can send
changed.
something and it's changed. Yeah. Okay, so now it just not sends and just disappears and stays. So how do you get to their Snap though? Do you like, hey, I know a friend of a friend, and you make it that way and then make an introduction on Snap?
I mean, there's like a quick add feature with like mutual friends, and you can just go down there and just click like add everyone from that.
All right, so you have a friend and that friend is friends with this girl. You can go on your friend's site and just add that person to your Snap.
I mean, not on their site because it's less profiles. It's more like contacts, right? So like if they
so walk me through this. How do you introduce yourself? So you wanted to do this. I'm going to get at you. So you want to meet somebody. You want to say, hey, you want to hit them up. Hey, what's going down? So how do you do that? How do you get to them without walking up to them and saying, hey, can I have your phone number? And then I have a follow-up question because
usually I do it in person.
You do it in person?
Yeah, Snap isn't as good because the people you meet on Snap aren't always like they're sometimes really weird.
Well, no, I'm saying if you know someone.
Okay.
So if you know someone you want to meet, you're just going to walk up to in person. You're not going to hit them up socially. Because I just asked you, do you ask people for phone numbers? And you're like, no, we don't do that.
Well, like, I don't know. Like, if you just want to add someone, you just go to that. You can just type their name in, and then.
So you have to know their name.
Yeah.
You type their name in, and you request to follow them.
Yeah, or request to be friends. There's no following. It's not like
friends.
Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. And then once they say, yeah, I want to be your friend, you know that, hey, there's some mutual interest. Because people could just say, no, I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah.
And then once they say, hey, I want to be your friend.
Most people accept just like all the requests. Like I have a bunch of friends with like thousands of people added. So it's not really like.
But that's probably not, here, go a little closer to the mic so people can hear you. But that's probably not great because then people are invited into whatever you're doing. And that's a problem, right? Mm-hmm. We could talk about that too.
Yeah.
So you request something, that person comes back to you and says, hey, yeah, I'm into like meeting you. And then where do you go from there? Hey, I'm hanging out on Michigan Avenue or hanging out in Bucktown or hanging out at the zoo and, we're all meeting up. Is it more of a, like, do people at your age do more of a group dynamic first?
Yeah, usually you want to start off with like a group, like a couple of groups, like, because I know when in the beginning of the year, like I had a bunch, like after all those Wednesdays, we had like people would come over to my house.
Yeah.
My house. Yeah, like that's how you would probably do it, but it would be like at like a public area. So usually it's like a lot of people go to the beach.
Okay.
Or water tower. I've been there a couple times.
But there's a downside to this, and let's talk about that. So the downside to Snapchat and social media is that people just invite everybody into it,
Yeah.
and can use that as a weapon to be mean, to bully.
Yeah, I feel like that you like switch topics really fast. I feel like we went.
Well, that's what we're gonna do. We're switching topics.
Well, yeah.
So you can use this app to meet people and have a good time, but at the same time, it can be used as a method to bully.
Well, that's the same with everything. You could say that about anything.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that then. So social media now is giving people some voices that don't have to basically sit to your face and tell you what they want to say, and they can hide behind this. So I'm just getting
Well, I'd say it's you can't really hide behind it because it has your name, all this stuff attached. Your like some people for their location. So I feel like it's like Snapchat's like not as good of an example as that.
Okay, so what would be more of a better example of that? IG, where you could do a burner?
Yeah, definitely for sure.
Do people in high school
No.
they don't do burner accounts and try to go
I don't know anyone with a burner account. I know a good amount of people.
Okay. So how do you feel the difference is between, let's say, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, and now you as a sophomore? How do you feel like you being a person, the only person I know that's grown up with social media 24/7? How has social media changed for you in terms of what you use it for and where you see it going versus in grammar school or when you first got your phone till now, to where do you see it going in the future? And what are the great things that could happen in the future with this? And what do you feel are some of the pitfalls that could happen?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I feel like social media was more just like video games. Like that's all anyone used it for, you know. When I was younger, like Fortnite was huge, right? So that's what everyone would talk about that. Everything would have to do something with Fortnite.
So the social media would be just talking about Fortnite.
Yeah, video games, especially Fortnite. Yeah, but now it's like graduated now. Like I get a lot more sports stuff like that. Like now I have like a lot of like people that I follow on Instagram, right? So there's like thousands of posts from a bunch of people. It's less like it used to be like big like companies that would just post, but now it's like a bunch of other people.
Do you feel, and we'll get into the bad side, but do you feel like if you want to know something, like if you're like, I want to know what's going on in the world, are you going to turn on, they call it legacy media. So are you going to turn on CNN, Fox, 2, 9, 5, 7? Or is the first thing you're going to do is hashtag and get online and get your news from the phone?
Never the phone. I mean, I feel like there's just too much like misinformation.
So where do you feel in the future people are going to be getting their news from? Like what kind of source can you trust?
I mean, I think people will still trust the phone for some reason. I mean, we've seen it with the newspaper. That's like basically like obsolete now, right?
Yeah.
And then like news channels are declining, and right, people are leaning more towards their phone. I mean, I feel like it will build up its credibility because as something falls, the other thing will build up. Like newspapers had all the credibility, and then now it's news channel. Then it was news channels, right?
Okay.
So I feel like that flip will kind of happen, but I feel like it won't be bad like later, because I feel like there's definitely be some side of credibility.
Okay. And then on the downside in social media in the future, where do you see just continuing to have people that shouldn't have a voice have a voice? Well, everybody should have a voice, but just sometimes people give credibility to voices that should just not have credibility.
I mean, yeah, and also like it just like kind of making everyone driven over like technology. Like I know a bunch of people that are like just driven over like how others perceive them. That's never good. Like to have just your perception of yourself based on how others see you.
Okay, let's get into that. I really like that, and especially parents. Like this is a huge problem, and you know when people are saying stuff about you on social media, and every kid gets this, so it's not a Lee thing. I mean, I can talk to every single parent, and every single parent has issues with bullying on social media, or people saying stuff. How do you cope? And I guess cope's the wrong word, but how do you sit back and tell yourself, I don't care what X, Y, and Z says, this is who I am, and it is who I is.
Yeah.
Like what do you go to yourself? Like I mean, I don't want to say this word because I don't think it's true. I mean, I don't think you have it. It's like there's not a mantra where you sit down and you do flower breathing like James does.
No.
Our 6-year-old does flower breathing when he goes awry. So we're not doing flower breathing.
Yeah, usually
and we're not doing, but like I know, like how do you cope with that?
just rationalize it. Like they're saying this stuff over a screen. Like what are they like? What's their real point? Like the stuff that they're saying like has no meaning because it's not sincere. Like if someone wants to say it face to face, like maybe I'd put more thought into it. But like when it's over like text or over like over a post or something like that, I mean I feel like it doesn't have enough magnitude for me to like really take hold of it.
Okay, so that's a very educated answer, and we have had this discussion because everyone has episodes and moments. Do you think that conversations that you and I and Mom have had about people hating or this or perception, do you think the conversations that we have had have helped you cope with that?
I mean, yeah, in the beginning, because like it was like I was kind of new to the whole social media thing and like how other people are like already established and stuff like that. And I feel like as soon as I like figured out like, all right, this stuff doesn't matter, or, like it's just doing it for like others like enjoyment. Like it's just it is what it is.
How do you think parents, or what are the telltales where parents need to get involved, where they need to come in and say, hey, this is what people are saying to you. Let's talk about the fact that this is BS. This is this is like, because me and you have had conversations where it's like, hey man, haters are going to hate, and no one talks smack about somebody that they're not jealous on. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, there's no reason. The only reason people say bad things about bad people is because they feel bad about themselves and they don't know how to handle being bad about themselves and fixing themselves. So do you think there's any tells that parents should be looking for? It's tough because as teenagers, you guys are quiet as it is.
Yeah.
And
but
disjointed.
Usually if like your child has something that they love doing and like they stop like doing it, like if they stop loving to
that's
do
a good
it,
tell. Yeah.
Like for me, like for example, like if I stopped going to the gym, right, you'd be like, I wonder why he's doing that, because that's like such a routine part of my day.
So parents should be looking out for kids that have passions that they just stop because they may be stopping because they're being bullied about that passion by someone else.
For sure.
That's a great one. Yeah, I like that.
I'm trying to think of some other ones.
I mean, that's a really good one. You don't have to think of another one. That's a good one.
That's all I can think of.
Yeah, well, you hit that out of the park, so that's good. So, I will toot Lee's horn. So Lee left a private school because we had a path that we wanted to go to. We went to an options program in Chicago. We don't want to offend anybody. So options means gifted. So we don't want people that get to a gifted program to feel that they've accomplished anything, because we can't have kids feel that they've accomplished stuff. That's like really bad. That's total sarcasm. So Lee went to a gifted program, tracked, did great, was at the school for 2 years, was the valedictorian, gave a great speech, gave a shout out to Kobe Bryant in the speech. The speech is on TikTok. It's fantastic. Then got into the number 2 school in the nation at Peyton. I would love to talk about being at Peyton and so being at any academic school that's higher learning, that's an elite school. What was your perceptions going into Peyton, and were you nervous? Was it I don't know what to expect, I'm not going to be able to hang? What were your thoughts going into the school?
I mean, kind of like a mixture of all those, because I've never been to like a school of that like high caliber, you know what I mean? And we only knew one person that's been there, right? So like my mom has a bunch of friends at Lane their kids have gone to Lane, right? So I've had a bunch of sources like around that high school. Yeah. But I never knew anything about Peyton, right? We never even toured the school. Right?
Yeah, we never saw the school. And we're doing it.
We saw the score. We put the ranking on there. Yeah. But yeah, we never experienced like the Peyton field.
What gave you the balls to do that? We toured Lane. I mean, Lane was where we're going.
Yeah.
So you score perfect on the entrance test, and you're like, I'm gonna go for it. But like, I remember when you got your scores, we sat there. I mean, it was a 10-second decision. You're like, I'm doing it. You never stepped in the school. We knew nothing about it. We just knew that this is the hardest to get into, and you're like, I got into it. I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. What? You just having confidence in yourself. Like, what can a parent teach their child to take on that decision? Because it ain't easy.
I feel like it's all self-confidence, and like sometimes like as a parent, you have to let your child struggle like a lot to make them find their own way. And like when I figured that stuff out, I really had like a lot of confidence in myself. And I feel like if you were to fail, you'd learn like how to find confidence in yourself, and that's how I felt like I went into Peyton.
Do you, to get on that failing thing, do you sometimes, when you put yourself into positions to fail, which is how you achieve goals, is to fail, when you do fail sometimes, what do you say to yourself to kind of say, I'm going to keep grinding even though I'm failing?
I mean, I watch progress. Like,
Yeah.
let's say, for example, I was trying to run a mile, right? I'd watch, like, and let's say I didn't get it, right? I'd watch the time, me, like, get closer to the desired time, right? So I'd be like, well, there's clearly progress, so soon enough, if I keep working, I'll get to it, you know? So I feel like tracking progress is a huge thing to, like, maintaining motivation.
So one of the big things that Lee does, he's a creature of habit, but he also is very goal-oriented, task-oriented. I think for a lot of kids, you know, and I can speak this for, you know, every kid's different. I can speak this for Will. A lot of kids don't set those goals. And I think it's hard for a child, and I would tell a parent, you know, if they want to know, like whenever I talk to somebody and they're like, oh, Lee got into Peyton, they're like, oh, tell us. I'm like, you know, he's goal-oriented. You got to be able to track progress like you do. First off, it keeps you motivated. And when you do have setbacks, you know that you've made progress. So the setbacks aren't really setbacks.
Yeah.
I think if you don't teach your child how to have daily tasks, and I'm not saying massive tasks. I mean, a task could be brush your teeth, make your bed, and pour yourself a glass of milk. That's a task. I mean, it's just getting to that thing where you can hold yourself accountable. Lee has always been somebody that can hold himself accountable, and I hold Lee accountable from a young age too, which I think parents don't do. I think there's something, people don't want to hold people accountable.
For sure.
And I think not holding your child accountable is just going to breed a person who's unaccountable. So I think that being able to hold yourself accountable or have a child hold yourself accountable gets to the spot where when you do test into Peyton or you do want to go for it, you're okay with it because you know the progress you've made to get to that spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, because, you know, people are goal-oriented, you know. Humans want to achieve stuff.
And I got to tell you, especially, and we may not want to talk about the difference between sexes, but I will at any point, boys especially need to have that structure and that goal structure. That's just how they operate. It just is what it is. You know, there's, you know, that book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, once a Vora, it's the truth. I mean, there's just differences in how they're raised, and boys need that structure.
Yeah.
Speaking of structure, how about, what would you tell a parent who has a child that isn't the best in their sport or has struggling in a sport or, you know, is just upset with where they're at? Not that they need to be rock stars or MVPs or all-stars, but where do you see where you are right now, which is fantastic, where you see right now in sports, what did that play in you getting to where you are?
Well, I went to a basketball camp a couple months ago, and it was really, really insightful, and I learned a lot about like mentality, and I feel like being able to like slow down and assess like where you are is really helpful. Like something for me, like I was struggling in baseball this year, right? So I slowed down, I assessed my weaknesses, right? And then like I got to work on that stuff. And like like doing stuff you don't want to do is like always the best for you.
So you're saying, yeah, so that you're saying what you've gotten out of sports, forget about the fun and the winning and the losing, but the guideline for you, what you got out of sports is being able to attack things that you are deficient in and not worrying about the fact that you fail from those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Because everything in life, whatever you're great at, you don't need to work on. It's what stuff that you're not good at is that you need to work on. Plyometrics. So where do you see yourself to someone that's looking at a child that's in high school? You're a rising sophomore. I don't understand that term, but you're a sophomore coming up in 20 days. Having 1 year of high school under your belt, what are things that you learned about high school that you either were misconceptions or you're had a clairvoyant moment, like where you're like, I know what you mean.
I feel like there's so many people, like no matter where you go, there's always at least one or two people that are like very, very similar to you. I feel like if you can find a kind of spread yourself out, like especially in like the early stages of high school, like if you're going into freshman year, like freshman connection, like find other people that are similar to you and, you know, hang around those people. That's really important. And like sometimes that's hard to do because you don't want to like extend yourself out, but that's something that you got to do.
So what do you mean extend yourself out to other people? Like people that you would not normally be friends with?
No, it's not like you wouldn't normally, like going out of your way to talk to people, you know, like some people are like naturally wired to do that. Like that's not one of my things, right? I usually stick around people that I know, right? But like going out and talking to other people can create like new friendships, right? And if you discover those people would be like you know, you got a solid friend for 4 years.
And that's the number one thing that you kind of picked up your freshman year,
for
is,
sure.
is just start talking to other people and branching out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then where do you see yourself? Like, what do you want to work on as a junior and senior? I mean, obviously you're like thinking about college and this and that, but where do you see yourself in terms of your self work? Like where do you feel like you need to work on as you progress?
I mean, I don't really know, like when you're talking about self, but like,
Well, you said you worked on talking to people that you don't know.
Well, yeah, that's definitely one of them. But I feel like I've done enough of that, right? So where I now have like a stable group of friends, right? Where I have like people to talk to and like people to hang out with like all the time,
Okay.
right? So I feel like I definitely like did like kind of achieve that goal within myself.
So a lot of people move out of the city for high school, or as they're tracking, they're like, hey, we're going to go to the suburbs. We're going to go to this school or this, you know, this is our high school. And they don't want to deal with, you know, what we dealt with in terms of testing and this and that. Mm-hmm. What are the best things? Give me the 3 best things about going to high school in the city versus not. So like if there's 3 things you love about, and it doesn't have to be the school itself, but 3 things about that you love about going to high school in the city of Chicago.
The stuff you can do after school. Like all the time, we like sometimes go to the beach, like
Okay.
maybe water tower,
Okay.
or we go to like a friend's house, because it's tougher to do that in the suburbs, right? Because it's not like as like condensed as a city,
Okay.
right? There's so much to do. There's so many restaurants to go to.
Okay.
And so I feel like that's one of my favorite things about high school in the city.
Okay. 2?
You get like a bunch of different people, like a bunch of diverse people, because
Okay.
they're coming from all over the city. Like especially at like a test-in school, right? They don't take the people in the neighborhood; they take the people from all over.
Okay.
Right?
So you have different tiers. We have 4 tiers in the city of Chicago. So you have people from each tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't think of a last one.
The public trans.
Oh yeah, that is nice. You know,
That's kind of tied to the first one.
yeah, getting to be able to move around the city, you know, for like a couple dollars.
Yeah, even though you don't have a license, you're in Jefferson Park, you're in the South Loop, you're in the West Loop,
Yeah.
you're in Streeterville.
Yeah.
I think that's an education itself, learning how to manage yourself and how to get around places and figure that out.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially if you're going to high school. Like familiarize yourself with like maybe the route that takes you home or the route from home to school. Because like that's something I had to learn, and I found it like really helpful.
If you're a 7th grader looking to get into, you know, one of the 5 tests, well, there's more than 5, but let's say you're a 7th grader looking to get into Whitney, Lane, Peyton, Northside Prep. Am I leaving out? I'm leaving out. Jones. Thank you. What would be some words of advice that you would tell the parents in terms of how to get into those schools? Things that not only you did, but maybe looking back, I mean, you scored perfect, so it's kind of tough to see what you messed up on. But looking back, what could you tell those people to give them a leg up? Like if someone said something to you, because we were obviously ignorant. So if someone said something to you in 7th grade, you'd be like, oh, perfect.
Read a lot.
Read.
Make sure you're reading a lot of books, because you can gain new vocabulary, and you know, just like it kind of like picks up, like you just like gain new information, right? That's always useful.
I always tell that people are always like, how to get it? I'm like, just fucking read.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just
read.
Don't be discouraged by like the things you're bad at. So like I think when I took the test, I got like the mock test, I got like a 40% on like language structure and stuff like that, like sentence structure, right? So instead of being like, all right, let me just work on math, which I got a high score on, right? I'm like gonna be like, all right, let me sit down for 30 minutes every day and work on my sentence structure.
So parents have to look at that practice test and say, this is what the problems are.
Hold their children accountable.
Stop doing, like I say to Will, stop doing math. You're already testing as a high schooler.
Yeah.
And start fucking reading.
Yeah, start reading.
Okay.
You got to do the stuff you're bad at if you want to see improvement.
Yeah, especially if you need perfect. So,
Yeah.
okay. So we have reading. So parents should be like, read books, take those practice tests, and really hone in on the skills your kids are not great at.
Yeah.
And what's the third thing you think, if there is a third?
I mean, definitely find like a tutor or someone that's like has good like academic like proficiency, like someone like an old, maybe like a high schooler already, or like a professional, because I feel like they can teach you like certain tricks that like make the test easier. Like for me, it was like how to eliminate answers, or like how to solve problems quicker, right, without looking at like all the numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah, like getting rid of stuff right off the bat and then focusing. Because, I mean, you may not have had it, but I remember when I was testing, and this is, obviously ancient times before, with an abacus. When I was testing, they were like, you're going to have stuff you don't know and you need to guess. But there's a difference between guessing 1 out of 5 and guessing 1 out of 2.
Yeah, for sure.
One's 20, one's 50%. So you always got to eliminate those other ones. Those are good ones. I like that. So let's talk about what's coming up for you briefly this year. So you just finished baseball, and you're going to start training for basketball.
Yeah.
JV basketball. Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
And then we have baseball after that for Peyton.
Yeah.
How important, I just had a discussion with someone like this morning. We'll end on this. I had a discussion with somebody this morning who their child is in the Whitney, the 7th and 8th at Q Whitney.
Oh, the academics.
Yeah. And someone in their family is really, really great at volleyball, but maybe not Whitney volleyball. Like they're because Whitney's volleyball team is like won 9 out of the 10 championships or something else. They're crazy, right? Well, that's where their principal discretions go. Yeah. Nothing against that, but that's where they go. So how important would it be? I had this discussion with them. She's like, I don't know if she'd make the team at Whitney, but I think she'd test into Peyton too. And she knows the coach at Peyton. I know she could play sports at Peyton. Yeah. We talked about this when you were selecting schools. How important is having that full immersed experience, sports, academics at your school? I mean, what would you do if you weren't playing basketball and baseball? Would you be like, it would suck? Or
I mean, yeah, because the whole point of high school is to like enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything that like outside of school, I mean, it gets really boring. Not only like lonely too, because a bunch of my friends that I've made have been through sports.
They're clubhouse boys.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I feel like if you don't kind of make those connections, or don't like have not having something to do it, sometimes it's just crazy boring. Like
I think I think parents really need to make sure that they understand that their child needs a full experience.
Yeah, they just need one like maybe like super immersed club, or like a super hobby or something like that to keep them going throughout the year, because doing school and then coming back home for 5 hours, it's boring, right? You got to have something every day.
But doesn't the sports also tie into your thoughts of being held accountable, and then also slowly being able to work on progress? And I feel that if you didn't play sports when you were young and work on things that you needed to work on, how would you be able to have said, hey, I also need to work on it? Hey, I know I have a great jump shot, but I need to work on my cross. I mean, just making shit up. I know I have a great jump shot. Well, you do have a great jump shot. But I need to work on my cross and off the dribble, and I need to attack that. Then you can go to your studies and say, hey, listen, I'm awesome at this, and I suck at this. I need to work on this. I think they tie together.
Yeah, well, that's life, because there's in every facet of life, there's always stuff you're good at and stuff you're not. Like when I started basketball, I had this coach, and I sat for 90 minutes every day shooting one-handed jump shots.
Oh my God, he cried. I'm never going back. And he's like, and you have a wicked jump shot, and it's because of that.
Yeah, and I think that just shows. I think that just shows progress, because I went from shooting like one-handed 3-foot shots, and now like I warm up with that stuff, and it's stuff that I can do every day, right?
Yeah.
But like putting it to like academics, right? Something you could get better at. It's like, let's say you have like not as proficient math, right? You could start with the easiest stuff and then work your way up. And I feel like that shows not only growth, but it shows consistency, which is important.
And we've used it in the reverse.
Yeah.
I've said to you, when you're struggling at hitting or at the plate, I've said, hey, look how you are in school.
Yeah.
You attack school that you're bad. I said, you just need to do the same thing at the plate. And you did it. So like, you can take lessons in school and reverse them to sports and vice versa. I mean, listen, I think like 3% of the population is going to play professional sports. So we're not talking about playing professional sports, and that's the goal. The goal is creating discipline, accountability, and the ability to attack what you're not good at and not to be fearful of failing.
For sure.
How many people at your high school that you know don't do stuff because they're just afraid that they're going to fail?
I know a lot of people.
What's the percentage of that?
I don't know.
What do you think they would attempt if they knew they wouldn't fail?
Everything.
Yeah.
That's how it is. You know, you gotta have extreme confidence in yourself. Like my younger brother Will, that's his thing. You know, Will still says every day he's a better shooter than me, right? And I've never lost to him in horse, right? I've never lost.
Not in his head.
Nope.
Yeah, he's something else.
But that extreme confidence is, you know, how you ground yourself. You know, because if you think you're gonna fail, I mean, there's no point in doing it, right? Because thinking you're gonna fail is you're just setting yourself up to just.
Well, you sent me that quote. Yeah. We're using it on Monday.
Oh,
where
really?
where Ford is like, didn't you send me the Ford quote?
Yeah.
He's like, you either think you're gonna fail or you're gonna make it. Either way, it's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah.
We'll end on this, but I had a really good friend from college, and my father passed in a crazy airplane accident, and out of randomly she sent me something, and it's still on my desk, and it's a piece of steel, and braided in steel it says, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? So like, it's so true that we especially at your age, parents, at this 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, that really important age, you just have to tell your kids, and I say this because this is how I raise my kids, you have to fail.
Yeah.
If you're not failing, you're just standing put, right? You have to fail. Because if you're not failing, you're not striving somewhere that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I, listen, it's not tough for you, but you've done that. And I think Will leaving his grammar school and going to a gifted program was tough for him.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
it was tough. He's not you, so that's tough.
He's leaving his friends.
Comfort.
Yeah, he's leaving the comfort, right, and to go to something that can help him get better.
Yeah, and I think too many times parents are like, oh, he can't do that. Mom struggled with you going to the options program, and I was like, no, this is what we're doing. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Don't be afraid to have your kids
struggle,
move schools, struggle, help them cope, because they're going to come out the other side fantastic. And they're going to come out like Lee did. And Lee's a fantastic kid. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, Dad.
Oh, I just got emotional. Okay, so thank you so much. Hopefully parents understand that you need to make your child uncomfortable. You need to push them into ways that makes them fail. Watch their Snapchat. If they love something and they stop doing it, I love that. That's the key. That's the 20-second bite. We're going to lead with this. If they love something and they stop doing it, get involved. Get involved in your kid's life. What is going on? Why did they stop something they love? There's always a reason, and it normally is a bully on the other end that's telling them that they suck at it. And you tell your kid to turn around and slap them. Can you say that? Yeah, I can. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Jason Theory. You can find us literally everywhere. Audible, Amazon. I listen to us on Amazon. And I think we have the most plays on Spotify, but also Apple. Be good, and we'll see you soon. And thanks again, Lee.
Of course. Love you, Dad.